Welcome to Telling Our Stories. My name is Josh Johnson with Regency on the Lake. I relocated to Davidson, North Carolina, the Lake Norman area, in October of 2024. We started telling our stories so you, our viewers and listeners, can connect with our clients in the communities that we are a part of, from Western North Carolina to the Charlotte area. Welcome to the show, and we hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, my name is Josh Johnson, and I'm with Regency on the Lake, and this is our podcast called Telling Our Stories. Here at Davidson College today with a guy that I've met one time briefly, and very privileged and grateful to be able to sit down with him today and talk all things Davidson, the college, and life, really as a whole in general. In my brief interaction with him when I met him initially, he left an imprint on my life within minutes, literally. And Bob McKillop is here. And Bob, again, thank you for being here with us today. And again, this is raw. It's not necessarily planned. And we'll talk basically kind of what I said and see where the conversation goes. We shared a little here beforehand before we got started and kicked off. But I'm really excited about this and looking forward to sharing you and what I experienced in moments and who I think you embody as a person kind of with our viewers.
Josh, I'm the lucky one, and I thank you for giving me this chance to speak with you. And what I find fascinating is we've had a brief conversation, we had a brief meeting, and yet there's a synergy here, there's an openness here that perhaps is not so much a part of our world today, but one that I think will be part of our conversation today.
Yes, sir. I don't know really where to kick it off, but I know.
Well, first of all, we don't say kick it off when you're dealing with me. We say tip it off.
Tip it off. All right. I don't know where to tip it off exactly. You've spent a long time coaching. How many years did you coach?
I coached for 50 years. I was a 17-year high school coach in New York and a 33-year coach here at Davidson College.
All right. And you coached against another friend of mine, Coach Steve Smith at Oak Hill when you were coaching high school ball, and he coached 33 years at Oak Hill Academy.
Well, they have a legendary program there, and his fingerprints are all over that program. Steve is an iconic figure in the world of high school coaching. In fact, in the world of coaching, because so many of his players have gone on beyond the days of Oak Hill Academy into college prominence and certainly into NBA prominence. And I can actually remember coaching one of his players, Ian Johnson, here at Davidson College, and Ian was a star for us.
One thing, I knew Coach, I started playing golf with Coach Smith before I knew what Coach did for a living. And I was out playing golf one day, and the guy that actually introduced me to Coach Smith was Ralph Davis. And I said, what's Steve do for a living? And he kind of looked at me, and he said, he's one of the best high school basketball coaches ever. And I didn't know. And literally, I grew up 15 miles away from Oak Hill.
That's a clear statement about who Steve is, a coach, a leader, but the balance of tremendous humility.
And that, where I was going with that, when I met you, immediately I was like, this guy's very similar in nature. I think to be a good coach, you embody character traits. And like for Coach Smith, obviously I know him a little better, but not only was he a coach, but he was a father figure to a lot of his players.
Josh, we are coaches in every role we play. Coach as father, coach as spouse, coach as member of the community, coach as men or women, and clearly, we get that opportunity to imprint and impress upon those we deal with in a leadership capacity every time we interact with them. And I'm clearly of the belief that leadership today is one of the shortcomings of our culture. We need greater leadership. And for me, as I've watched our world unfold, as I've watched all these decades of my life go from the glorious days of the 1950s to our contemporary culture of 2025, I see a common thread with the great leaders. And that common thread is there's tremendous confidence in a leader, but it's balanced with humility. There's tremendous toughness with the leader, but it's balanced with tenderness. Leaders believe in discipline, and that always comes before freedom, as they always believe in freedom as well, but they have discipline come first. And finally, the leader understands his power must always be in harmony with truth. For me, those are the defining aspects of what a leader is. And years of experience and observation and interaction with other people have taught me that the great leaders demonstrate that when they do lead.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been fortunate to have several great leaders in my life, and I'm a young guy still. I'm 45 years old, and you shared that you're 75, and you don't know this, but you shared I'm 75 and I learn every day before we started this little talk. And you said, I take notes, and I'm still learning. And I mean, that in and of itself hit me. I'm like, and I know you never stop learning, but I mean, even little things like that, you take to heart, and it kind of sticks with you, and you carry it on in your life. And I mean, that's the same thing I felt from you when I met you initially. I'm like, this is a guy I would love to hang out with, not only to just get to know, but to learn from. And you share the wisdom that you have with me, and even how that comes into community. Obviously, you've been in Davidson for quite some time. This community, I think, embodies a whole lot of that. I think a lot of the people that live here are true leaders. I mean, one lady that comes to mind right off bat for me is Kim Fleming, who is the economic developer here in town. Even Jamie Justice, town manager. I mean, they just embody, it's like you said, they have that humility and the quality of wanting to serve and help the community as a whole. And they're the ones that actually said, hey, you've got to get involved with college, because without the college, you know, there's no Davidson in reality.
It's an interesting comment you made about Kim Fleming. Her husband, Dave, is an outstanding communicator and an outstanding analyst for ESPN.
Okay.
Kim also and Dave belong to the book club that Kathy, my wife, belongs to, so we get to interact socially with them. And that's the nature of Davidson. There's such an intimacy here. You go to the post office and you run into people. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're driving past them in a car. You're actually having a conversation with them as you pick up your mail. What a great aspect of communal living that is. And I got to tell you this, where in the United States can you find a town that in the center of a town is a chapel that is open 24 hours a day? Lingle Chapel, part of the Presbyterian Church here on campus, and right in the center of town, the center of Main Street and Concord Road, is open for 24 hours a day. Sort of there's a sanctuary, a place of quietness, a place of reflection, a place of contemplation where you can go and separate yourself from all the hubbub that goes on in our world and yet have a relationship with God in a communal way of conversing with Him in a very unique situation. And to me, that demonstrates the intimacy of Davidson. Lingle Chapel on one side, the post office on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
Extraordinary that we live in a town that gives us that great joy.
Oh, yeah. And Kim actually shared with me, and I don't know when this happened exactly, because I just moved here last October. My family moved from the high country, obviously, in North Carolina, and moved after Hurricane Helene. But she shared with me about the post office. It was required for a long time that everybody in Davidson keep a P.O. box simply so folks would see each other every day and build that sense of community. And it wasn't just till recently that kind of changed, if I remember correctly what she told me.
Well, the confines of Davidson was so limited in terms of scope, and all of a sudden the expansion out to McConnell, out to River Run, and all the various communities that have been built around us. So we have been this small, sequestered college town, and we've expanded it to become a suburb of Charlotte. And with that, it became almost impossible for everyone to get a post office box in the post office. But we still have our post office box there. We still pick up our mail on a daily basis, and we still interact with many of the Davidson people, and not necessarily people that live their whole lives here, but people who have migrated here as a result of the attraction of Davidson College.
And one other thing that you mentioned was the chapel. And myself, my priorities in life, the way I prioritize things personally, God's number one, family's number two, and work's number three. And, you know, family's broad. It goes way beyond just my family within my four walls. I mean, that covers a lot of friends and people I meet, and neighbors and clients and whatnot. But if I kind of keep my priorities in line with God being right there at the top, and it seems like my life goes a whole lot easier. And the peace and the tranquility that you mentioned, you know, where you can go to that chapel, I mean, peace for me, when me and God are on the same page, my life seems to be peaceful. Has my life always been peaceful? No, sir, it has not. But I can say even through the tumultuous times, God never left me. He was waiting on me is what I experienced and observed. And he was giving me enough room to, you know, people say I have a hard head sometimes. I would second that. And thank the Lord he didn't smack me down too hard. But, you know, he did give me some room to explore things and see that my way wasn't his way. But when I listened to him and spend time with him, and I like to do that a lot of times in the mornings. I have a golden doodle. His name's Jack, and he and I will take a walk. When I'm walking Jack, I talk to the Lord and I talk to Jack. And, you know, I find that peace right there a lot of times. And when I start my days off like that, it's a good day for me. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on faith any deeper other than mentioning the chapel and, you know, all that. But if you do, I'd love to hear about it.
People often ask what has been the secret of Davidson's success, and without doubt, I reflect personally that it's been prayer and it's been family. I do not at all believe that my life passes a day without prayer nor with family. In a dark night of the soul, the river of God somehow continues to flow in my body. And I've been fortunate to have that faith, and it's a gift, it's a grace, it's a blessing, and it's accentuated by our family. Even in the times of fear and anxiety and loss, God never left me. And when your heart can't be broken, you're in trouble. And when that trouble did come, God was there, so it really wasn't trouble. So I've had that fortune of a faith instilled to me by wonderful parents, and now carried forward with the grace of God to continue that in my life today.
Well, I mean, again, I feel extremely privileged to have you on this podcast episode with me today. And I really, you know, AJ and Peyton and Robbie said I'm the host. I really feel like I'm like unqualified to be the host. But what else could you share? Obviously, you're a Hall of Famer coach. That's kind of past now, correct? And you're in this phase of life that's retirement. You're still plugged into the college, I know, and you assist here a lot. But, I mean, tell us a little bit about life day to day now for Bob McKillop.
Retirement gives you an opportunity to reflect, and the hubbub of your life, which is such a part of coaching or real estate or banking or parenting, all of a sudden slows down. And what I find now is I have the two greatest gifts I've always had, but I'm more aware of those two gifts. Mm-hmm. And those two gifts are time and love. You can make a lot more money, but you can't make more time. And those are precious gifts that we have every day, time and love. The more abundantly we use them, the better our life will be. Sadly and regretfully, when I was caught up in the superhighway of college coaching, time and love did not seem to be as much a treasure for me as they are right now. In retirement, I've learned what a treasure they are. Mm-hmm. And I try to give them as abundantly as I can. And there's tremendous satisfaction, there's championship satisfaction in understanding that I do have those gifts and I'm able to give them more abundantly. And what's fascinating, tying it all together, is they're the two greatest gifts that God has given us, yet they're also the two gifts he wants most back from us.
Mm-hmm. Time is interesting because I'm sitting here at 45, and, you know, I've got a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old, both sons, and I tell them, and obviously the world they're growing up in is way different than the world I grew up in. And in that age bracket, what I've observed currently is that generation wants things instantaneously. And I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, hey, time takes time. You know, it takes time to do what you want to do. It's not instantaneous. No matter what you see, you read, or you listen to, or hear in life, you know, success, and what they want is success. But they have this expectation that it's a little bit, should happen quicker than it's happened for me personally, I will say that. And then my perspective is kind of the same, and then kind of what I just heard you say is you're more aware of time's shorter now. And when you were like, say, my age maybe coaching, it was kind of like where I'm at, where it was going really fast, and you didn't really realize how precious it was. When I was a child, I remember time, it seemed like days lasted forever. And I was like, and even when I was in school, I was like, oh, I'm never going to get out of school. This ninth grade year is it feels like an eternity. And the older I get, time definitely does speed up. And you blink your eyes. I mean, I can remember when I was rocking my boys, and now they're 15 and 18, and I'm like, geez, where did 18 years go?
Don't you believe that time is something that we have an ability to utilize and to give, whereas our contemporary culture denies you that opportunity if you get sucked into the culture? Growing up in the 1950s, sitting on a stoop playing stoop ball or punch ball in Queens, New York, or stickball, or touch football, or basketball in a playground, a schoolyard, you had the time to do that, and there was no hurry to get home. Your mother and father knew you would be coming home for dinner, and kids grow up today and they leave school and their mother or father drives them to soccer practice, then to dance class, then to piano lessons, then maybe to volleyball games. And it seems like we occupy the daily routine of our people, our youth, so much with orchestrated and planned and scheduled experiences and leave nothing to them. And in my judgment, it has destroyed imagination. The 1950s, for me, was a time of dreams. I dreamed of being Mickey Mantle in center field for the New York Yankees, or Bill Bradley on the court at Madison Square Garden. You know, we dreamed about a man on the moon. And the kids of today have never lived a day in their life in which there hasn't been a man on the moon. And because we've orchestrated so much, we've taken away the imagination that I think is such a vital component to our growth as humans, but also to our development as a young child into adulthood. You look at a kid, he goes on a basketball court, and he doesn't have an imagination to play against, as I did, Walt Frazier or Bill Bradley or Hal Greer or whoever it might have been. I played them one-on-one in my mind on the court by myself. Today, a kid goes with a trainer and he has cones out there and he's rehearsing drills and movements. There's no imagination. And I think imagination has somewhat disrupted the chance for our culture to really dream.
And that also, not only imagination disappearing, but those schedules have affected what I refer to as like the most important component is family. I mean, because it's so hard for families to truly be families. I mean, you mentioned sitting on the stoop, we call it a porch here in the South, but we'd sit on the front porch and play music. And that was very imaginative. You know, we would sing songs, write songs. I mean, where I come from, you know, we got a lot of the bluegrass and the old school country type music, and those songs were written, which people would say today, Lord, you guys must have been bored. But I mean, even these songs that like still carry on today were written in those times when imagination was alive, and families were truly more families. It wasn't this rush schedule of like life, of what it seems like it's been today. And it's a reminder for me, just sitting here talking about it, to slow down. I mean, because and you have to do that, because honestly, you'll burn out if you don't. I mean, I've burnt out personally and had to take a hiatus. And what I found during that time of my life, I mean, I've done real estate now for 21 years. The reason I got into it initially is because I loved people and I loved serving people. And then you get to doing life and making money and becoming successful, and your schedule starts to fill up. And what I noticed for myself personally is it became more of a task than a passion. And when I lost that passion, I was not happy. I wasn't happy, and I was like, geez, I even evaluated, do I want to keep doing this? I mean, I don't enjoy it anymore. And I really thought it was, I couldn't figure out what the problem was. But once I did, I was like, Josh, you've lost yourself a little. You've lost yourself, you've lost your passion, you've lost why you did this initially. And I had to step back, and which I did, and evaluated my life as a whole. And my wife, who I'm so blessed to have, you had the pleasure of meeting her. I mean, she is absolutely a gift from God to me. She's like, Josh, you got to slow down. I mean, you have got lost a little bit. And once I did that and stepped back, all of a sudden, that passion started to come back to me. And the service aspect of my job definitely returned, because, I mean, it's not about a transaction to me. It never has been. Transactions are not fun. Making money is not fun. I mean, it comes and it goes. It's a tool, right?
Well, making money is not fun, but it's not going to buy you poverty.
Correct. But, you know, it's not what fulfills me personally.
Understand.
Yeah. And what fulfills me is helping. I mean, I help all sorts of folks, you know, young folks, old folks, people having children, and different stages of life that folks are in, hearing their need and helping them find.
Well, you're coaching.
Yeah.
That's the experience that a coach has. I came into coaching initially because I thought I could have an impact. And all of a sudden, the devil, the demon, the distraction of pride enters into the equation. And I start thinking, yeah, I can have an impact, but boy, I can make money and I can get publicity and I can become famous. And I come to Davidson College back in 1989 with the aspiration that, yeah, I'm going to wave my magic wand there and then ride off into the sunset, become the coach of the New York Knicks or St. John's University, and be on that court that I once imagined, Madison Square Garden. And I was brought to my knees because of failure, because the focus was on me, not on service, not on others, not on the players I coached. And only when I learned that lesson of helping, of serving, only when I learned that lesson did I experience the success. And it was the grace of God, the prayer, that brought me to that lesson. And to this day, I find myself waking up each morning saying, who can I help today and how can I help them? And when we guide our day with that mentality, all of a sudden, wonderful things will happen to us. You know, I think about the 1950s again, and you mentioned the word boredom. You must play that music because you're bored.
Mm-hmm.
We are not bored in the 1950s. It was a magical time period. We babysat last night for Matt's 3 children because Kelsey, Matt's wife, had a 40th birthday celebration at Kindred's at the chef's table.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, if you ever have a chance to go to the chef's table at Kindred's, a great restaurant and even a greater experience with the chef's table. So they went there. So we babysat for Hazel, Rosie, and Charlie. And Hazel's the oldest, so she stood up the latest and was speaking with me about Halloween. And they called me Baba. Baba, what are the holidays that you celebrate when you were a young boy? And I said, you know, one of the holidays we celebrated that's not celebrated today? Sunday dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Dinner at the dining room table on a Sunday afternoon was a celebration in our house. And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, we had this thing called the Blue Laws in New York. Stores were not open. The only places open were a newspaper store, a bakery, an ice cream parlor, and then I had to tell her what an ice cream parlor was,
Mm-hmm.
which was great, and maybe a delicatessen. But all the other stores were closed. The shopping malls, the closed stores, they were all closed. Even gas stations were closed. So the people that normally work those jobs today, they weren't bored. They went home and had dinner at a dining room table with their family. And the dinner at the dining room table became a point of conversation. It wasn't interrupted by a text. It wasn't interrupted by a television. It wasn't interrupted by anything but a conversation between mom and dad and the children and the siblings. And all of a sudden, it fostered the development of family.
Mm-hmm.
And I often think that that quest for capitalism, that quest for making money, that quest for keeping stores open 7 days a week eroded the family life.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I was fortunate enough even to have my grandparents on a Sunday. They would come over on a Sunday afternoon. My granddad would come over almost religiously and bring a Kit Kat. I got a Kit Kat every Sunday. So, and I mean, growing up in the 90s, for me, we would ride our bicycles everywhere. And that's one thing I love about Davidson is all the kids you see on bicycles, because they're not sitting on the phone or on their video game or whatnot. But I mean, we would disappear on a Saturday. We'd have a sleepover with they'd either come to my house or I'd go to their house. First thing Saturday morning, we're on our bicycles exploring out in the world, you know, having the time of our life. And everybody knew we'd come back for lunch and dinner for sure, which we always did, and the sweet tea, which is another Southern part of my culture. But, I mean, we drink a gallon of sweet tea at least every Saturday. But it has changed, and it is a good reminder to, you know, and my family and I, we try to keep some of those, we call them traditions now. That's how far removed it is. It should be a way of life. But, you know, we try.
What's fascinating, you say traditions. When COVID struck,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden we did not have that access to everything that was part of the normal culture. And we started having Sunday dinner at the dining room table, inviting Matt, Kelsey, and the 3 grandchildren over, and that became a Sunday staple.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't it interesting how an evil COVID brought us back to a good,
Mm-hmm.
a family dinner?
Mm-hmm.
And I again point to faith and grace and God and the presence that there is in our lives. Maybe that's part of what he was trying to get our attention about.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. I mean, I could even say the same with Hurricane Helene. I mean, in the mountains when that hit, I mean, the cell phones were even down. You know, some areas for months. I mean, we didn't have them for a week. We couldn't get out of the house that we lived in because the roads were blocked from trees. And as soon as we got those cleared, first thing we did is go check on my mom and dad, check on my grandmother. And, you know, it's when the world goes black like it did then for us, you become aware of a whole lot very quickly.
It's kind of a microcosm of what is going on in our political world of America today. There are so many who lament either the past 4 years or the current years, whether you're Democrat or Republican, conservative or liberal, there's a lamentation going on about how bad things are in America. I'm going to move to another country. Well, let me tell you, go to another country and live there and see the daily experience of living in that country. Most people go to foreign countries on vacation.
Correct.
And they're there 7 days, 8 days. They don't have to worry about all the little incidentals that are part of our life here in everyone's culture. And they eat at fine restaurants, they sightsee, they're staying in hotels, and all the challenges that you face in normal life are set aside because you're on vacation. But live there and see the comparison between America and other countries. And they are great countries, don't get me wrong. But I think you come back to America and you see what we have here in America. It's extraordinary. We just got back from Greece, and Athens is a world-class city from the standpoint of the history and the culture and the tradition. But I would never want to live in Athens. Never. Coming back to America was a great joy for me after that eye-opening experience. And carrying that a step further with the concept of America being a great place. Look how many people, as we saw in the mountains during Helene, came to aid and support and give themselves and their resources to make life better for the people that were less fortunate. You come to our campus and you look at the buildings named after benefactors. You see the way the students on our campus do service projects. You see here in town the way people give. We have a ceremony on next Tuesday to honor the veterans, Veterans Day, and they've just built a memorial right in front of the post office, and it'll be a celebration. But how did that memorial get built? The gifts of people.
Correct.
They don't think of these things in Europe. I've had a lot of players from Europe, and to give back to Davidson College after they've left and gone into their new life, that's not part of the culture of Europe. It just isn't part of it. Whereas, you know, every American, it goes to their pocket to give money for this, money for that. And it leads me into another dynamic that kind of gets me a little bit upset. The amount of money that we spend in political campaigns to have someone elected to office is sacrilegious. I watch TV and I see St. Jude's Hospital, the commercials for St. Jude's, and those poor kids, cancer-ridden, challenged, heartbroken parents. And then I turn Tunnel for Towers on, or you see these advertisements. Why can't the money that we invest in campaigns be given to cure cancer, be given to help the veterans, the people from 9/11, whatever it might be? There are so many needs that we have here, and we're a very generous and gracious country, but we give far too much money to political campaigns.
Correct. I agree with that 110%, but I'm not going to chase that rabbit on politics. So just because it's in my life on a national level, and again, I'm 45. When I look back at presidents that have been served in my lifetime, my favorite was Ronald Reagan.
But you know, you're not going to chase that rabbit of politics. I'm not talking Democrat.
Oh yeah,
Republican.
I know. And
you know, the Republicans don't have a monopoly on campaign finance, nor does the Democrats.
Nope.
They both do it.
Yep.
They both abuse it.
Oh yeah. Well, the reason I liked Ronald Reagan personally is because he seemed like an average, normal guy to me, even as a kid. It was like somebody I thought, well, I could go eat dinner with him. And I mean, it's almost like with all that political money and power that these folks have nowadays, that's transitioned and it's moved from true service like we were talking about earlier. But I mean, you brought up travel and America being the greatest country in the world. I've been in 30 plus countries myself, and that's quite a bit. It used to be a number that kept growing. Then I got married and started having children, and it slowed down a little. But a lot of my travel was for mission work. And I went to places that weren't, I saw the real life, every day, day in function of a lot of the countries I was in. And honestly, things that we take for granted here in America, electricity 24 hours a day, running water 24 hours a day, hot water to shower and bathe in, having refrigeration, having your food stored at a good temperature. I mean, I can remember one trip I was on as a child, and what I looked forward to more than anything was a cold glass of milk when I got back to America. And, it's the simple things, and it's an attitude of gratitude. I mean, I think when you're grateful, it changes your perspective, and you said it is so easy to get kind of like negative nowadays in our culture. And for me, that attitude of gratitude, there's thousands of things I can choose to be grateful for. Not so much complain on the one or two bad things that happen to me in a day. And when I choose that attitude of gratitude, it flips the script. Rather than, say I have an encounter with somebody, and I tell my children this all the time. My oldest, he's 18 and has a job at the moment, and he came home, and he was a little upset, and I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, this woman, she really got on me today at work." And I was like, "Step back, breathe." I said, "You don't know what's going on in her life. I mean, maybe it wasn't really directed at you. Something may have happened to her that, spurred that reaction in her, and you just caught it." And he said, "I didn't really think about it that way." And I said, "Well, just go back and have a conversation tomorrow and see what went on." Well, come to find out, her car had got totaled in the parking lot. Somebody backed into it, and I don't know how you total a parked car, but totaled her car 20 minutes before she had the conversation with my son. And he came back, and he's like, "Dad, it was just like you said. She was just having a bad day, and I called it." And I said, "Well, how would you feel if that happened to you?" And he said, "It would have been tough." But, go ahead.
I said before when we opened this up that we are all coaches. In whatever capacity we find ourselves, that begins with first coaching ourselves. And I find it very fascinating as I've experienced life that everyone wants to coach everyone else, but they don't coach themselves. Mm-hmm. To me, that is the greatest challenge that greets me each day. How can I coach myself today to help people? How can I coach myself today to be a better father? How can I coach myself today to be a better spouse? Having that conversation with myself doesn't guarantee that I'm going to fulfill the challenge and conquer the challenge, because there are demons and distractions everywhere.
Everywhere.
You look at any athlete today, one of the first objectives a coach must have of an athlete is he must eliminate the distractions. What's a distraction? Referee makes a bad call, crowd can boo, he can miss a shot, opponent can talk trash to him, what's written about him on the internet. There are distractions everywhere. Mm-hmm. And just like we coach players to limit those distractions, we must also coach ourselves. So you get out of bed, you're all fired up about doing a great job today, coaching yourself today. You walk into the kitchen, you grab something to eat, and the TV is on, and the news is on about something that, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the demon strikes. Mm-hmm. And that great focus that you had when you arose from bed is now distracted by that demon. Mm-hmm. You get in your car, you drive, and someone's in front of you, and you got to get someplace, but that someone in front of you is on the phone texting somebody and doesn't turn on the left arrow, and you're late, and you have to wait for the next red light. Mm-hmm. The distraction, the demon. It comes and it haunts you in so many different capacities and so many different disguises, and you've got to constantly be vigilant about that. And that's where, for me, grace and my prayer life come in. Mm-hmm.
And the coaching, again, I couldn't bypass this in any way, shape, or form, but TCC. I would love to hear your thoughts on that, because that is something that I became aware of that's a huge part of Davidson College, of the athletic program. And I personally think it's a part of the community as a whole. And I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit.
I told you that when I came here, I had this aspiration to climb the corporate ladder, to become the coach of the Knicks or be in Madison Square Garden. The focus was on me. I was infected by the disease of me. Mm-hmm. I worked incredibly hard. I had great confidence. And I gave scholarships to players. I mean, I cared about them. Our house was bigger than we ever had back in Long Island. I took care of my family. Those 3 words came to me after I was brought to my knees in failure. First year, we were 4-24. Second year, 9-19. Third year, 11-17. I'm entering the 4th year of a contract, and I'm thinking, I'm getting fired. Mm-hmm. And I read a book about the Notre Dame 1988 championship football team. Lou Holtz was the coach. He had a conversation with his team in the opening meeting, and he said, we will be champions this year, 1988, if you can be trusted to do your best, if you are committed to doing your best, and if you care about each other and show it. It was the only time it was mentioned in the book, never again alluded to as they went through the book and the experiences of that season. Those 3 words jumped at me. And I said, trust, commit, care. How am I doing with that in my life? Trust, I was confident, but I was arrogant. Mm-hmm. I had to turn that arrogance into humility. I committed. I worked really hard, but I was consumed. I had vision through a keyhole. I only saw what was in front of me to get me forward, not anyone else forward. Care, I gave them scholarships, but I never showed that I cared. Mm-hmm. So once I learned those 3 words of trust, commitment, care, then applied them to my life, only then could I coach our players about them. Mm-hmm. That's the remarkable metamorphosis that I underwent in 1992.
Yeah. And I mean, that TCC's carried on. I mean, beyond you. And I mean,
so has the Bible.
Yeah, it has. That's the truth. And it will continue.
If you really analyze the Bible, and I'm not a biblical scholar in any stretch of the imagination, I think it's Micah 6. Act justly, love tenderly, and walk humbly with your God. Mm-hmm. That's 3 words.
That's the 3 words.
Trust, commitment, and care.
Yeah. Yep. Again, I'm sitting here like, I feel like everything you say is a nugget. And this is going to be an episode I'm going to like watch over myself and take notes probably more than one time in my life. But I mean, honestly, like you've told kind of how you've done it right there with those 3 words and how you changed your focus. And obviously we know what you've accomplished. And to me, that's impressive. And I guess we kind of touched on the retirement thing, but I mean, do you have any plans or aspirations other than, you're just more aware of the time and the love that you mentioned that are 2 very important things?
Well, I'm constantly fighting the demonic battles, the distractions. They come to me every day. And it's going to be a daily challenge. Mm-hmm. And I keep doing that. And I think that has brought me in a closer relationship with God and my faith. But I want to be able to use that time and use that love and give it more generously and more abundantly. And my network, my Rolodex is incredibly expansive. How many can I touch each day? How many people? But I must always remember this. Sweep in front of your own door and the world will be a clean place. Mm-hmm. We always want to do away, but let's clean our own doors up. So let me first focus on our family. Then I could focus on the community. Only then I could focus upon the world. And as a coach, what you say to one of your players might be just one comment, but for some reason it might last a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And I sense that with time and love being the guideposts, with trust, care, and commitment being the foundation, if maybe, just maybe, every time I speak, every time I see, every time I hear, I'm guided by the fact that see things with the eyes of the heart, hear things with the ears of the heart, say things with the mouth of the heart. Only when I'm able to do that will I truly be impacting people and living that life of trust, commitment, and care, and giving those gifts of time and love.
Mm-hmm. In trust, commitment, and care, there is, and I have to mention this, obviously, I do not know this individual personally. I do know that you know him personally, had the privilege of coaching him. And I had the privilege of meeting somebody the other day that was a childhood friend of Stephen Curry. And we were talking, and I said, is Stephen like what you see on TV? And he said, man, he's salt of the earth, same dude in real life as what you see on TV, if not better. And I know you coached him, and I did watch the interview that you did with him on the Today Show, where we're renaming Exit 30 at the Steph Curry interchange. And even your all's interaction, like during that interview, I mean, you could see the relationship, the trust, the care, and the commitment present in both of you, and the respect that he has for you as well. So, I mean, I know you know him way, probably as good as, I mean, he said that you were basically family to him. I mean, tell us, and I know that he's involved with the college here as well still today. So, I mean, that's one of those things, too, that proves what you lived by is still making effect today. And, I mean, tell me your thoughts, expound on that. I mean, whatever you have to add to that.
As I know, and as I've said, God sends demons to us, but he also sends angels to us. Mm-hmm. And Steph is an angel to me. He's been an angel in my life. He's been an angel in the life of Davidson College. He's become an iconic angel because he's global in terms of his reach. He doesn't pound his chest and prance around saying, look at me. Mm-hmm. He's got confidence, but he's got incredible humility. I would always tell him that, much like Francis of Assisi, he would preach the gospel at all times, but only use words when necessary. He had that remarkable capacity to demonstrate the way you should live your life. And he is a model of excellence in that regard. A father, a husband, a sibling, a teammate, a member of the community, a Christian man. He wears all those hats. He wears them with gratitude. He wears them with dignity. He wears them with honor. And he wears them with great pride. Davidson College has the fingerprints of Stephen Curry all over it. You walk across our campus, you see every student athlete, which is 25% of our student body, wearing Under Armour gear, whether it's sneakers or shorts or T-shirts or jackets or backpacks or hats, all the gift of Stephen Curry. Mm-hmm. He has graciously and generously provided that for every student athlete. He's given scholarships to numerous players here. He supported so many different initiatives on this campus. But that's not the lone aspect of his generosity. He runs this program in Oakland called Eat, Learn, and Play. Mm-hmm. He's part of so many different ventures and initiatives that help people out that are in desperate need of whatever it might be. And he's a voice of excellence. Many years ago, maybe 10, I got a call from a very prominent sportscaster who has a talk show, nationally syndicated talk show, radio talk show. And he said, there's this boy here in Indianapolis who is 11 years old, and he's a cancer patient, and he adores Stephen Curry and the Golden State Warriors, and I'm not sure how much time he has left. Would you get Stephen Curry to call him up on the phone? And I get calls or asks like that all the time. Mm-hmm. And I agreed with Stephen back in 2010, 2011 that I would be his gatekeeper when those things came across my page and try to prevent that from being an intrusion, because he's inundated with things in his own little circle. Mm-hmm. And I've honored that and committed myself to doing that. And I told this sportscaster, I wish I could help you, but I've just been asked to be his gatekeeper, and I'm doing that, and I just don't want to bring that in front of him. About a month passes, and I get a call from this boy's doctor. Mm-hmm. Happened to be a Davidson alum.
Okay.
And I conversed with the doctor saying that, yes, I had gotten a call from the sportscaster, and she said, well, he doesn't have much time left at all. And I said, well, let me see what I could do. So I called Steph's agent, a wonderful man, Jeff Austin, and I said, Jeff, could you maybe put together a package of Golden State Warrior gear, have Steph sign them, and send it off to this young boy in this hospital in Indianapolis? And Jeff said, I'll take care of it. Lo and behold, the Warriors go and play the Pacers in Indiana. Mm-hmm. No one knew this. It wasn't broadcast. It wasn't blurted out on TikTok or put on the internet anywhere. Stephen went to see this boy in the hospital the morning of the game, brought him a blanket, a hat, shirts, and he brought Steve Kerr, the coach of Golden State, with him. And the two of them spent 30, 45 minutes with this young boy. But again, preach the gospel at all times, but only use the words when necessary. And he wasn't broadcasting it. He just did it quietly with great humility. Mm-hmm. That's Steph Curry.
Yeah. Sounds like an amazing dude, just like you. And I know that he attributes a lot of who he is to you. And again, I'm extremely humbled to have been able to sit down with you today. And I'm going to wrap this up with two questions.
Okay.
What was your favorite memory of your time spent here at Davidson College coaching? First question.
If I was to say there was a favorite memory, I would shortchange the treasure chest of memories that I have. I can only say that for 33 years, Davidson College gave me the greatest education and experience that a coach could ever have. All right. It's 33 years of wins and losses, highs and lows, tears and laughter, joys and sorrows. 33 years, they helped me more than I could ever help Davidson College.
Okay. And then the second question I have for you is, what do you look forward to most in the future at this point?
I look forward to answering the door tonight for trick-or-treaters, going to New Jersey tomorrow to do a clinic for one of our former players in Bergen County, New Jersey. I greet each day with love in my heart. At least I try to. Mm-hmm. And each day is a treasure. And if I look forward to something in advance, my eyes are not on what's in front of me.
So you're a one day at a time
yes, sir.
guy. So, well, again, I appreciate you sitting down with me today. I hope that you've enjoyed this.
It's been a joy for me to get to speak in such a genuinely candid, clear way.
Yeah.
And thanks for your questions, and thanks for your affirmation and your validation.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you. And to our listeners, if you've liked what you've heard today, you know how to do what you do. Like, subscribe, share. Honestly, I think a lot of things Bob McKillop shared today are things that everybody should take with them, write them down, keep them. And second time spending time with this wonderful man, and leaving imprints all over me again. So for that, I thank you again. Hope you enjoyed it again, and just stay tuned for our next episode.
Thanks, Josh.
Go Wildcats.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining this episode of Telling Our Stories. We hope you enjoyed today's show and episode. Please feel free to share with somebody that you think may enjoy it. Also, like, subscribe, and share away. We've got more episodes coming in the future. Thanks again for joining us today.